and tricks. In today's lesson, we will talk about handling mistakes while learning English and how to remember words better. I'll share some interesting insights from a classroom scenario, but I've also added some personal experiences and examples to make this more engaging and relatable. This is a long lesson, but I promise it will give you some powerful tools for learning English. How I handle mistakes. So let's start with a story about handling mistakes. Last week, on a regular Tuesday, I went to school here in Lagos, Nigeria. One of the students, Emily, raised her hand and asked a very interesting question. She said, "I want to practice speaking with the people around me, but I'm afraid of making mistakes. I don't want to sound stupid. Can you help me?" Our teacher smiled and said, "Emily, this is such a good question. The fear of making mistakes is something that many people experience. But let me tell you what I believe is the best approach." She continued, "Making mistakes is actually a crucial part of learning. I have a lot of experience with this, not just because I'm an English teacher, but because I've also learned new languages myself. In fact, I'm currently learning French. And guess what? I make plenty of mistakes when I speak French. But the reason I don't care about those mistakes is simple. When I was learning my native language, I didn't care about mistakes either." The room was silent as everyone listened. "Think about it," she said. "When you were a child learning to speak your first language, did you worry about making mistakes? No. You just focused on expressing your thoughts, and with time, you got better. That's the same approach you should take when learning English or any other language. Focus on communicating your ideas, not on being perfect." She paused for a moment to let this sink in. Here's another example. When I practice speaking French, my main goal is to make sure that I express my thoughts. Even if I make mistakes, I know that with practice, I'll get better. The same goes for you when learning English. Every time you speak, read, or do shadowing exercises, your English will improve. This idea made a lot of sense to us. It's the same approach that works for many people. In fact, it's like learning how to play an instrument. When you start playing the ukulele guitars, for example, it sounds bad at first. You make mistakes, hit the wrong strings, and struggle with the chords. But you don't give up, right? Over time, as you practice, you start playing better. The same thing happens with English. You can't avoid mistakes at the beginning, but those mistakes help you learn and grow. Overcoming the fear of mistakes. Our teacher then added something that really stuck with me. "You should have the same attitude as a 2-year-old child," she said. "Children at that age make plenty of mistakes when they speak, but they don't care. They just keep trying, and by the time they're 3 or 4, they make fewer mistakes and can communicate very well, around 2,000 words, so it's completely normal to make mistakes from time to time. Mistakes are not something to be afraid of. They are part of the learning process. Nobody becomes perfect overnight. Even native speakers make mistakes. Think about public figures, like politicians or business leaders. When they speak on television or in front of large audiences, they sometimes make mistakes too. But do they stop speaking? No, because they care more about sharing their ideas than worrying about making small errors. That's exactly how you should approach your English learning journey. Don't aim for perfection right away. Instead, focus on progress. Every mistake you make is a step toward getting better. How I remember words. The next day, on Wednesday, I went to class again. This time, another student named Ryan had a question. He said, "I've started reading more and I feel like it's helping with my grammar, but I'm having trouble remembering new words. I looked them up in the dictionary, but sometimes when I see the same word again, I forget its meaning. Can you help me?" Our teacher nodded and said, "Ryan, that's a common problem and it's completely normal. When we learn new words, our brain needs to go through several stages before we can remember them well." She explained that there are 5 phases when learning new words. 1. Phase 1. This is when you see or hear a new word for the first time. You don't know its meaning, so you look it up in the dictionary. 2. Phase 2. You see the word again, but you still don't remember its meaning clearly. You look it up again. 3. Phase 3. The next time you see the word, you have an idea of what it might mean. You might recognize it as a verb or noun, but you're not 100% sure. Burst. Phase 4. At this point, you know the meaning of the word when you see it, but you can't yet use it in conversation. This is called passive vocabulary. 5. Phase 5. Finally, you reach the stage where you can actively use the word when you speak. It becomes part of your active vocabulary. Ryan seemed relieved to hear this. "So it's okay if I don't remember a word right away?" he asked. "Absolutely," our teacher replied. "It's all part of the process. You need to see or hear the word several times before it becomes a part of your everyday vocabulary. Don't feel bad if you have to look it up multiple times. Each time you do, you're getting closer to mastering it." How I improve my listening. On Thursday, we had another great discussion in class. One of the students, Lily, asked a question about improving her listening skills. She said, "I can read and write in English, but I struggle to understand people when they speak quickly. How can I improve my listening?" Our teacher smiled and said, "Lily, improving your listening skills is key to becoming fluent. Listening is a big part of communication because if you don't understand what others are saying, it's hard to respond." She explained that there are a lot of resources available online, such as podcasts, audiobooks, and English movies. But, she said, it's important to choose the right materials. When you listen to something in English, make sure you understand at least 95% of the words. If there are too many new words, it's better to read the transcript first so you can familiarize yourself with the vocabulary. She also gave some great advice. When you listen, don't focus on learning new words. The goal of listening is to understand the message. As you listen to more and more content at your level, your listening skills will naturally improve. You'll start to pick up on common phrases, sentence structures, and the rhythm of the language. Conclusion. In conclusion, learning English or any language is a journey full of mistakes. But those mistakes are your stepping stones to success. Whether you're learning how to handle mistakes, remember new words, or improve your listening skills, it all comes down to practice and patience. Remember, no one starts out perfect, but with each mistake, you're getting better. At our Simple Spoken English, we believe in the power of practice, and we're here to help you every step of the way. So keep speaking, reading, listening, and most importantly, keep making those mistakes. They are the key to your progress. How to improve your English listening skills with books, films, and motivation. Let me tell you about a few great ways to improve your English listening skills. These are methods I have personally tried and they worked really well for me. So, I highly recommend them to you. The first thing I suggest is reading books. Books are a fantastic way to start, especially if you're a beginner or even at an intermediate level. What's great is that you can choose books that match your current level of English. Step 1. Choose the right book for your level. Finding a book at your level is very important. For example, if you're just starting to learn English, you don't want to pick a book that's too difficult. It might frustrate you. But if you choose a book that you can mostly understand, you will enjoy it and learn new words along the way. Here's what you should do. First, read the book. Then listen to the audio recording of that book. Listening to the recording while reading will help you improve both your reading and listening skills. You can do this at home when you're relaxed, or even while traveling, like when you're on the bus or train. There are some websites that provide great English books for this purpose. You can visit sites like greatenglishbooks.co.uk or learntoriyadbooks.com for access to interesting stories that also have recordings. These sites provide books in 3 different levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This way, no matter your skill level, you can find something suitable. Step 2. Listen to the news in English. Another thing you can try is listening to the news in English. This can be really helpful because news stories often use everyday language, and you can hear how people really speak. There's a website called newsforeveryone.com that provides news stories in simple English. Just like the books, they offer news at different levels of English. Whether you're just starting out or already know 2,000 words in English, you can find something that suits you. Listening to the news regularly will help you get used to the language and improve your comprehension over time. Step 3. Watch films and videos. Apart from books and the news, films and videos are excellent resources for improving your listening skills. When you have learned around 2,000 words in English, you can start watching English films. Watching films is fun, and it's a great way to learn how people actually speak in real life. Here's what you should do. The first time you watch a film, turn on the subtitles. This way, you'll understand the story and learn some new words. After watching it with subtitles, try watching the same film again without them. Each time you watch the film, you will understand a little bit more. If you really enjoy the film, you can watch it multiple times. This repetition will help you get more familiar with English expressions and improve your listening. For example, if you're interested in nature, you can watch documentaries about animals or the environment. There are plenty of nature films available online. You can also find great reality shows, which are often easier to understand than regular films because they tend to follow a simple structure. Watching something that interests you will make learning English much more enjoyable. Step 4. Spend 30 minutes a day. Listening. The more time you spend listening to English, the faster you'll improve. Try to listen for at least 30 minutes every day. You can listen to anything: books, news, films, or even music. At first, it might feel difficult because you might not understand everything. But don't worry. Focus on what you do understand, even if it's just a few words or sentences. Over time, your understanding will improve. In the beginning, it's easy to feel frustrated because you might not understand most of what you hear. But try not to focus on what you don't know. Instead, be happy with the new words and sentences that you do understand. Every new word you learn is progress. Remember, listening is one of the easiest ways to learn because all you have to do is sit back and listen. You don't need to do anything else. A personal story. How I improved my listening skills. Let me share a story with you about how I improved my English listening skills. This might inspire you. In one of my English classes, my teacher asked us to talk about the first time we became interested in learning English. Do you remember the moment you first started learning English? For me, I started learning English when I was in high school. At first, I didn't like it at all. It was really hard, and I found the grammar confusing. The structure of the sentences didn't make sense to me, and I struggled to memorize vocabulary. When I finished high school, I was still only a beginner. I couldn't speak English, and I thought I would never be able to learn it properly. I believed that English just wasn't for me. But something changed when I turned 20. I've always loved music, and around that time I started listening to a band called The Blue Roses. I really wanted to understand the lyrics of their songs, so I began translating their songs word by word. Slowly, I started to understand more and more of the lyrics. One day I met two travelers from Australia on a train. We had a very simple conversation in English, but that small talk made a big difference for me. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could actually learn English. From that moment on, I worked on my English almost every day. I listened to English songs, watched films, and read books. Eventually, I became much better at understanding and speaking English. I even decided to travel to Sydney, Australia to improve my English further by immersing myself in the language. The importance of motivation. My teacher told me something very important during that class. Motivation is key to learning English. Without motivation, it's hard to stay focused. But when you have a strong reason to learn, like wanting to understand music, films, or having conversations with people from other countries, you will find it much easier to make progress. Everyone in my class had a different reason for learning English. For example, one of my classmates, Emily, wanted to read classic literature in its original English. Another student, John, dreamed of becoming a tennis coach in New Zealand and knew he needed to speak English well to achieve his goal. Sarah, another classmate, wanted to work for a big international company in Dubai and needed English for her job. We all had different reasons, but we all had one thing in common. We needed English to achieve our goals. At the end of the lesson, our teacher asked if we liked learning English. I told her that when I was in high school, I didn't like it at all. But now, I really enjoy it. I can see how useful it is to speak English in so many different situations. My teacher said that liking English makes it easier to learn. If you enjoy English music, films, or culture, it becomes easier to spend time learning the language. How to learn 3,000 words in English. One day in class, a student asked our teacher how to learn 3,000 important English words. Our teacher explained that while you can find lists of the most common 3,000 words on the internet, learning words from a list isn't very helpful. Learning words in isolation doesn't help you understand how to use them in real conversations. A better way to learn new words is by reading or listening to full sentences. This way, you learn the words in context, and you'll remember them more easily. For example, instead of memorizing the word appreciate from a list, you can learn it in a sentence like, "I really appreciate your help." By seeing or hearing how the word is used in real life, it will stick in your memory longer. Conclusion: stay motivated and keep practicing. In the end, the key to improving your English listening skills is simple. Practice regularly, stay motivated, and enjoy the process. Find things you like to listen to, whether it's music, films, or news, and make it a habit to spend time with English every day. The more you listen, the better you will get. Just remember, every little bit of progress counts, and with time, you will see big improvements in your English skills. Learning English can be an exciting journey, but it's important to remember that some methods of learning may have their limits. For instance, when you rely only on memorizing individual words from lists or using a translation method, you might find yourself stuck after learning about 1,000 words. This approach can be slow, and there are much more effective ways to build your vocabulary and language skills. One of the best methods is reading. If you're a beginner, it's a great idea to start with simple books. A perfect example is Robinson Crusoe in simple English. You can easily find this version on websites dedicated to beginner readers or even at your local bookstore. Just search for Robinson Crusoe for beginners, and you'll likely find a version that suits your level. This book introduces new words in a natural context, which makes it easier to understand and remember them. There's an interesting rule about language learning. Every important word for you will keep showing up in your life until you eventually learn it. This is very similar to how children learn their first language. When we are kids, we don't study from word lists. Instead, we hear and use the language in our daily lives. Words that are important to us, like milk, food, or play, come back again and again in conversation. Eventually, without even trying too hard, we understand and know these words. For example, think about the word Google. It's now a verb in many languages. No one learns this word from a vocabulary list, yet everyone seems to know what it means. The first time you heard the word Google, you probably didn't know what it meant. But as you heard it more often in different contexts, you began to understand it. Maybe someone said, "I'll Google it for you," or "You can find the answer on Google." After a while, the meaning became clear. This is a great example of how we naturally pick up new words when we use a language regularly. This method is much more effective than memorizing lists of words. You don't need to spend hours studying vocabulary from flashcards or apps. Instead, immerse yourself in English by reading interesting stories, watching videos, or having conversations. When you use the language frequently in your daily life, new words will naturally become a part of your vocabulary. Let me share a story about a student learning English while working in a cafe. This student, let's call her Emma, lived in a small town in Canada. After school, she worked at a cafe serving customers who mostly ordered coffee and sandwiches. At first, she found the job easy because the customers always used the same words. coffee, sandwich, thank you. These were words Emma heard every day, and she quickly became confident in her ability to communicate. As Emma's confidence grew, she started to have longer conversations with the regular customers. She felt proud that she could understand them, and they often complimented her on her English. Everything was going well until one day something unexpected happened. One Tuesday afternoon, two new customers came into the cafe. They were a married couple from Australia visiting Canada on vacation. The man spoke to Emma, but she couldn't understand him at all. Even though she knew he was speaking English, his accent was completely unfamiliar to her. Emma thought maybe he was asking for something the cafe didn't have, so she called her boss over to help. Her boss quickly understood the man's order and sold them 2 coffees and sandwiches. After the couple left, Emma felt embarrassed. She apologized to her boss for not understanding the man. Her boss reassured her, saying it was perfectly fine and that this kind of thing happens all the time. The couple was from Australia, her boss explained. Their accent is different from what you're used to hearing here. Still, Emma felt frustrated. The next day, she told her English teacher what had happened. "I felt really silly," she said. "I've been working at this cafe for months, and I thought my English was good enough for the job. But when I couldn't understand that customer, I started doubting myself." Her teacher smiled and told her, "You shouldn't feel bad at all. You've been practicing English here in Canada, where people speak with a Canadian accent. But the Australian accent is different. Your ears just aren't used to it yet. This happens to everyone when they hear a new accent for the first time. It doesn't mean your English is bad. You just need to give yourself time to adjust." The teacher went on to explain that it usually takes about 2 weeks to get used to a new accent. She suggested that Emma watch movies or TV shows from Australia. "This will help you train your ears," she said. "Soon you'll be able to understand the Australian accent without any problems." Emma felt much better after talking to her teacher. She decided to follow the advice and started watching Australian sitcoms after work. Slowly but surely, she noticed that she was beginning to understand the characters' accents more easily. A few days later, something similar happened at the cafe. This time, 2 women from Italy came in. Their English was very basic, and Emma could tell they were struggling to communicate. Her boss, who was serving them, quickly adapted her language to make the conversation easier. Instead of using long, complex sentences, she spoke in short phrases like, "2 coffees?" and "anything else?" She even pointed to the items on the menu to help the women understand. Emma was impressed. After the customers left, she told her boss, "It was amazing how you changed your English so they could understand you." Her boss smiled and said, "It's important to make everyone feel comfortable, no matter how well they speak English. If they feel like they can communicate here, they'll keep coming back." Emma realized that language is not just about speaking perfectly. It's about communication, making sure that both sides understand each other, no matter the level of fluency. She admired how her boss had adapted to the situation, and she decided to do the same in the future. By listening more carefully, adapting her speech, and being patient, Emma became better at her job and more confident in her English skills. In the end, the key to learning English, or any language, is to use it as much as possible. Don't rely too much on word lists or flashcards. Instead, read books, watch movies, and have conversations with people. Each time you encounter a new word or a different accent, you're training your brain to understand more of the language. With enough practice, you'll soon find yourself becoming more fluent and confident, just like Emma. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and learned something new. Remember, practice makes perfect, and the more you immerse yourself in English, the better you'll get. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep improving your English with more tips, lessons, and stories like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends, family, or anyone else who wants to learn English. Together, we can help more people become confident English speakers. See you in the next video. Hello, dear students. Today, I want to share a story that will help you learn English while exploring a new language. Like English, is much like starting on a long journey. In the beginning, the path might seem unfamiliar, and you may feel unsure of yourself. But just like any journey, it begins with a small step. When I first started learning English, I felt lost. I didn't know where to begin, and every word seemed like a huge challenge. But then I remembered a quote that kept me going. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This quote reminded me that all I had to do was start, no matter how small that step seemed. At first, my vocabulary was very limited. I barely knew any words, and I felt too shy to speak. I kept wondering, how can I possibly talk to others when I know so little? But even though I was nervous, I didn't give up. Instead, I made it a habit to repeat the words I learned. I would say them aloud, even if I was alone. Slowly, this made me feel more confident. Each day, I was adding a new word to my vocabulary, and little by little, my English was improving. One day, a friend gave me advice that changed how I looked at learning. She told me, learning a new language is like learning to play a musical instrument. You need to practice every day. This simple comparison stuck with me. I thought of English like playing the guitar or piano, something that requires daily practice to get better. From that day on, I made an effort to practice English every morning. I started listening to English stories, repeating sentences out loud. To me, the rhythm of English was like a song, and soon it started flowing in my mind. Of course, I made mistakes. Everyone does. But I quickly learned that mistakes are just small bumps on the road. They may slow you down for a moment, but they won't stop you if you keep going. I remembered a story my teacher once told me about a boy who was learning to ride a bike. He fell down many times, but each time he got back up. In the end, he learned to ride that bike confidently. This story became a metaphor for my English learning journey. I may stumble, but I'll keep going, and eventually I'll master it. I found watching English movies with subtitles to be incredibly helpful. It was like having a teacher at home with me. I would watch a movie, and when a word or sentence caught my attention, I would pause it and repeat the line. It felt like I was having a conversation with the characters on the screen. This simple trick really boosted my learning. One of my fondest memories comes from a day I spent at the park. I was sitting on a bench reading a simple English book. A young boy approached me and asked, "What are you reading?" I smiled and showed him the book. He sat next to me, and we started reading together, word by word. That day, I realized that learning can be a shared experience, and sharing knowledge makes it easier and more enjoyable. I felt a sense of connection, and the interaction encouraged me to continue learning. On another occasion, I visited a small cafe in a town where English was the main language spoken. The menu was in English, and some of the words were unfamiliar to me. I felt nervous, but instead of avoiding the challenge, I asked the waiter to explain what the dishes meant. To my surprise, the waiter was kind and happy to help. It was a small victory for me, but it made a big difference. This experience taught me that it's okay to ask for help. Most people are willing to assist if you show them you're trying to learn. A quote that always stayed with me was, "Little by little, one travels far." Learning English is just like that. You don't need to rush. Take it one step at a time, and before you know it, you'll have traveled a great distance in your learning. Every day, I would learn a new word, and every week I would challenge myself to use a new sentence. Slowly but surely, my ability to speak English improved. I even kept a small notebook where I wrote down the new words I learned. Each night before bed, I would read through those words, and it became a bedtime ritual for me. This habit helped me remember the words better and use them in conversation. In the beginning, I was afraid to speak in English. I thought people would laugh at my mistakes or my accent. But as I continued to practice, I realized that most people are kind and understanding. They know how difficult it is to learn a new language. One day, I met an elderly man in the park who was reading a book. I sat beside him and started speaking in English. My words weren't perfect, but he smiled and listened patiently. He told me, "It's not about being perfect, it's about trying." His words stayed with me and gave me the confidence to keep speaking, even when I made mistakes. I remember another time when I traveled to a city where English was the main language spoken. At first, I was nervous because I wasn't used to speaking English all the time, but after a while, I started to feel more comfortable. I asked people for directions, ordered food in restaurants, and even made new friends. This trip showed me that the best way to learn a language is to use it as much as possible. Don't be afraid to speak, even if you're not perfect. Practice is key. A friend once compared learning English to planting a tree. He said, "It takes time for the tree to grow, but eventually it bears fruit." I loved this quote because it reminded me to be patient with myself. Sometimes it feels like you're not making any progress, but if you keep going, you'll see the results over time. There were days when I felt stuck, like I wasn't learning anything new. But then I would remember another quote. "Every day may not be good, but there is something good in every day." I started focusing on the small wins, like learning one new word or understanding a sentence better than before. These small victories kept me motivated. Surrounding myself with English was another helpful strategy. I changed the language on my phone to English, started listening to English songs, and watched videos online. It was like creating an English-speaking world around me. This made learning feel more natural and fun. I even started talking to myself in English, which might sound funny, but it worked. I would stand in front of a mirror and pretend I was having a conversation. This practice helped me gain confidence and improve my speaking skills. I remember a time when I received a letter in English. At first, I was scared to open it because I didn't think I would understand it. But when I did, I was pleasantly surprised. I understood most of it, and this gave me a sense of pride. It was proof that my hard work was paying off. Learning English also taught me the importance of patience. There were moments when I wanted to give up, but I reminded myself that good things take time. My pronunciation wasn't perfect when I started. Some words were really difficult to say, but I didn't give up. I kept repeating them, listening to how native speakers pronounced them, and slowly my pronunciation improved. Writing also became an important part of my learning process. I started by writing small notes, but eventually I wrote longer sentences. Writing helped me organize my thoughts and remember new words better. One of the best tips I received was to think in English. This was challenging at first because my mind would automatically switch back to my native language. But with practice, I started to think in English more often, which made speaking much easier. Setting small goals also helped me a lot. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, I would focus on one thing at a time. For example, one week I would concentrate on learning new words, and the next week I would practice speaking. There was a time when I felt self-conscious about my accent. I thought it was a problem, but a friend told me, "Your accent is part of who you are. It's your identity." That made me feel better, and I realized that having an accent isn't a bad thing. It's a sign that I'm learning a new language. I also discovered that learning with others can be very helpful. I joined a small English group and we would meet once a week to practice speaking. It was fun, and I learned a lot from my friends. One of my favorite quotes is, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." This reminded me that it's okay to make mistakes as long as I keep trying. I also discovered that learning English can be enjoyable. I started playing word games like crosswords and word searches, which made learning new vocabulary exciting. As I kept going, I realized that English had become a part of my everyday life. From watching TV shows without subtitles to writing in a journal, it all added up. Today, I look back and realize how far I've come. The small steps I took each day have brought me a long way on this journey of learning English. Continuing from where I left off, I realized that learning English was no longer just a goal. It had become part of my daily routine. One of the things that helped me stay consistent was setting up a regular study schedule. Every day at the same time, I would sit down to practice English. Whether it was reading, listening, writing, or speaking, I made sure to dedicate time to it. This routine helped me stay focused and kept me from getting overwhelmed by the idea of learning a whole new language. I also started talking to my family and friends in English. At first, it felt a bit awkward, especially because most of them weren't fluent in English either. But they were very supportive, and practicing with them made learning more fun. Sometimes, we would play games where we had to speak only in English, and this really pushed me to use the language more often. It also helped me realize that learning doesn't have to be serious all the time. It can be playful and enjoyable. One of the most important things I learned on this journey was the value of being kind to myself. There were days when I felt frustrated because I wasn't learning as fast as I wanted to, or because I made mistakes that seemed silly. But over time, I realized that learning a new language is a long process, and it's okay to take breaks when needed. Some days, I would set smaller goals for myself, like learning just one new word or writing a short sentence. These small achievements gave me a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep going. Another turning point in my English learning journey was when I met a study partner. Person was also learning English, and we decided to practice together. We would correct each other's mistakes and share tips on how to improve. Studying with someone else made a huge difference because it felt like we were on this journey together. It wasn't just about learning from textbooks or apps anymore. It was about real conversations, real connections. We even started going to English-speaking events together, like book clubs and language exchange meetings. These experiences not only improved my English, but also helped me build confidence in social situations. Listening to English music also became one of my favorite ways to practice. I would find songs I liked and sing along, trying to match the pronunciation of the singers. It was a fun way to improve my pronunciation without feeling like I was doing homework. Music has a way of sticking in your memory, and I found that the more I sang along, the more comfortable I became with speaking English naturally. Over time, I started to notice that certain phrases and expressions I had learned from songs would come to mind when I was speaking with others. One of the most memorable moments in my learning process was when I had to write an important email in English. I had never written something so formal before, and I was worried about making mistakes. But instead of getting discouraged, I took my time. I looked up the words I didn't know, asked for help when needed, and finally finished the email. When I sent it, I felt a great sense of accomplishment. It was a reminder that learning English wasn't just about speaking or listening. It was also about being able to communicate in different ways, including writing. I also discovered the importance of staying positive throughout the learning process. There were times when I felt like I wasn't making progress, especially when I compared myself to others who seemed to be learning faster. But I reminded myself that everyone learns at their own pace. Learning English is a personal journey, and it's important to celebrate your own progress, no matter how small it may seem. There were days when I didn't learn a new word, but maybe I understood a sentence better or felt more comfortable speaking. These small victories added up over time. One of the most practical tips I learned was to label things around my house with English words. I put sticky notes on my fridge, table, door, and even my mirror. This way, I was constantly surrounded by English words, and it became easier to remember them. I also started keeping a journal where I would write about my day in English. It didn't have to be perfect, and sometimes I would only write a few sentences, but this simple practice helped me improve my writing skills and organize my thoughts. There was a day when I had to give a small speech in English in front of a group of people. I was incredibly nervous, but I had practiced a lot beforehand. When the day came, I spoke slowly and clearly, and to my surprise, people clapped when I finished. It was a huge moment for me because it showed me that all my hard work was paying off. Speaking in front of others was something I never thought I could do, but with practice and patience, I did it. Watching English TV shows was another strategy that helped me a lot. At first, I used subtitles to follow along, but as I got better, I started turning them off. This really helped improve my listening skills because I had to focus more on the language being spoken. I also started to notice how native speakers used certain phrases and expressions in everyday conversation, which made my own speaking sound more natural. Keeping a regular journal in English also became a habit for me. Every night, I would write about my day, my thoughts, or even something interesting I learned. It was a simple activity, but it made a big difference in improving my writing and helping me express myself better in English. Sometimes I would challenge myself by trying to write longer sentences or using new words that I had learned. I also found it helpful to challenge myself to speak in English for an entire day. This was difficult at first, but it forced me to think in English and use the language more actively. Whether I was ordering food, talking to friends, or just thinking to myself, I made an effort to use English as much as possible. It was a great way to immerse myself in the language and practice in real-life situations. Over time, I realized that one of the most important things I learned was to be kind to myself. Learning a new language is not easy, and there will be days when you feel like giving up. But it's important to remember that it's okay to take breaks and relax when needed. The key is to keep going and not give up. Even on the days when I didn't feel like I was making progress, I reminded myself that every small step counts. Meeting other people who were also learning English was incredibly motivating. We became study partners and would practice together, correcting each other's mistakes and encouraging each other to keep going. It made the learning process more enjoyable and less lonely. Learning with others can be very beneficial because you get to share experiences and learn from each other's mistakes. Another fun way I practiced was by listening to English music and singing along. This helped improve my pronunciation and made learning more enjoyable. It's amazing how much you can learn just by singing along to your favorite songs. Over time, I noticed that my pronunciation had improved, and I felt more confident speaking English. I also remember a day when I was trying to write an important email in English. I was stuck on one sentence and didn't know how to express what I wanted to say. But instead of getting frustrated, I looked up the words I needed and slowly finished the email. It felt like a big achievement, and it reminded me that persistence is key when learning a new language. In the end, learning English taught me many valuable lessons, not just about language, but also about patience, perseverance, and staying positive. There were times when I felt stuck or frustrated, but I learned to focus on the small victories and keep going. Surrounding myself with English, practicing regularly, and staying consistent helped me make steady progress. Today, I feel proud of how far I've come, and I know that with continued practice, I will continue to improve. Learning English is a journey, and like any journey, it takes time, effort, and patience. But with the right mindset and consistent practice, it is a journey that can lead to incredible results. Whether it's through watching movies, listening to music, or practicing with friends, there are many ways to make the process enjoyable and rewarding. So, if you're learning English, remember to take it one step at a time, stay patient, and enjoy the journey. It's completely normal to ask for help when you're learning something new, especially when it comes to learning English. If you don't understand something, don't hesitate to ask someone to explain it to you. Most people are happy to help, especially when they know you're trying to improve yourself. In fact, one of the best pieces of advice I received when I was learning English was to be patient. Learning a new language takes time, and no one becomes fluent overnight. But if you keep practicing and working on it every day, you will improve. I remember when I first started learning English, I was so eager to become fluent right away, but I quickly realized that it was a gradual process. Over time, as I practiced more, I began to notice improvements in my ability to communicate. I also discovered that learning English opened many new opportunities for me. Suddenly, I was able to talk to more people, understand more of the world around me, and even improve my job prospects. It felt like the world was becoming bigger and more accessible just because I could understand and speak another language. There was a quote I once read that truly motivated me. The best way to predict your future is to create it. This quote made me realize that if I wanted a future where I was confident in speaking English, I had to work hard to make it happen. With this mindset, I continued studying and practicing every day. I knew that each step I took was bringing me closer to my goals. Another thing that helped me a lot was setting small, achievable goals. Instead of trying to learn too much at once, I set simple goals, like learning 5 new words each week. Each time I met one of these goals, it gave me a sense of accomplishment and motivated me to keep going. I found that practicing English in real-life situations was incredibly helpful. For example, I started using English when ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions when I was in a new place. These small, everyday conversations helped me become more comfortable with the language. I'll never forget the time I was at a market, and the vendor spoke to me in English. I understood everything she said, and I replied confidently. It was a small interaction, but it was a moment when I realized how much I had improved. Another thing that helped me was watching the news in English. At first, it was challenging because I couldn't understand everything they were saying, but as time went on, I got better and better. Watching the news helped me pick up new words and understand how they were used in context. One tip that I found extremely useful was repeating what I heard. For instance, if I heard a sentence in English, I would repeat it out loud to myself. This practice helped me remember the sentence structure and also improved my pronunciation. I believe it's important to celebrate small victories. Every time I learned a new word or understood a complex sentence, I would take a moment to feel proud of myself. I once read that learning a language is like building a house. First, you lay the foundation with basic words and phrases. Then, you build the walls with sentences. And finally, you add the roof, which is fluency. This analogy made the process clearer for me and helped me stay focused. Making mistakes is also part of the learning process, and it's okay to get things wrong sometimes. In fact, every mistake is an opportunity to learn something new. I remember one time when I was talking to a friend in English, and I used the wrong word. My friend kindly corrected me, and from that day forward, I never forgot the right word. It was a valuable lesson, and it reminded me that making mistakes is just part of learning. Another strategy that worked for me was thinking in English. Instead of translating everything from my native language to English in my head, I tried to think directly in English. At first, it was a bit difficult, but over time, it became more natural, and it helped me feel more comfortable with the language. Immersing myself in English was another thing that made a huge difference. I started listening to English music, reading English books, and even changing the language on my phone to English. This constant exposure to the language helped me learn faster. One of my favorite memories is from a time when someone asked me for help with English, and I was able to explain something to them. It felt amazing to share what I had learned and to help someone else on their own English learning journey. One thing I realized early on was that consistency is key. Even if I only had 10 minutes in a day, I would make sure to use those minutes to study. Those small pockets of time added up over the weeks and months, and before I knew it, I had made significant progress. There's a quote that really resonated with me during this time. Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going. This helped me stay motivated, even on days when I felt like I wasn't making much progress. Using English in real life, not just studying it, was a game changer for me. Whether I was chatting with friends, watching movies, or reading books, using English in my everyday life helped me improve. Keeping a positive attitude was also important. There were times when I felt discouraged, but I reminded myself that learning a new language is a journey, not a race. It's important to enjoy the process and not rush through it. I made it a habit to review what I had learned at the end of each week. Going back over the words and phrases I had studied helped solidify them in my memory. One of the best tips I received was to practice speaking as much as possible. I would speak English with my friends, family, and even practice by myself. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. Staying motivated was crucial too. I would set small goals, like learning a new word each day or finishing a book in English. These goals gave me something to work towards and kept me focused. I remember reading a quote that said, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." This reminded me that even small bits of practice every day add up over time. I learned to be patient with myself. At times, I wanted to learn everything quickly, but I realized that true learning takes time. One of the most important lessons I learned is that learning English is a journey. It's not about reaching a final destination, but about appreciating the progress you make along the way. Each new word or sentence I learned was a step forward, and that was what really mattered. Curiosity played a big role in my learning process as well. I would look up new words and try to understand how they were used. This curiosity kept me engaged and eager to learn more. Practicing my listening skills was another thing that helped me improve. I listened to English songs, podcasts, and videos, which helped me get used to how native speakers talk. It also introduced me to new words and phrases in a natural way. It's also important to have fun while learning. I played word games, watched funny videos, and read interesting stories in English. This made the learning process enjoyable and kept me motivated. One of my proudest moments was when I was able to have a full conversation in English without any help. It felt like a huge accomplishment, and it motivated me to keep going. Sometimes I needed to take breaks when I felt tired or frustrated. After taking a short break, I would come back feeling refreshed and ready to learn more. I also made it a point to practice every day, even if it was just for a few minutes. Consistency really is the key to making progress. Using flashcards was another tip that worked well for me. I would write new words on the cards and review them throughout the day. This made it easier to remember the words. Staying positive was also important. There were moments when I felt like giving up, but I reminded myself that every small step forward is progress. One of the best pieces of advice I received was to surround myself with English. Whether it was through music, books, or movies, being surrounded by the language helped me learn faster. I also learned to set realistic goals. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, I focused on one thing at a time. This made learning more manageable and less overwhelming. Finally, practicing with native speakers, though challenging at first, was incredibly helpful. It improved my pronunciation and gave me a better understanding of how the language is used in real conversations. In the end, I learned that patience, practice, and a positive mindset are the keys to mastering English. Another key realization I had during my English learning journey was the importance of writing. Writing in English, whether it was short messages to friends, emails, or even keeping a simple journal, helped me improve my grammar and vocabulary. Writing forced me to think carefully about how to form sentences, which helped reinforce the grammar rules I was learning. Over time, my writing improved, and I felt more confident in expressing my thoughts in English. One strategy that really helped me understand spoken English was watching movies and shows in English with subtitles. At first, I would watch them with subtitles in my native language, but as I got better, I switched to English subtitles. This way, I could hear how the words were pronounced and see how they were spelled and used in a sentence. It was like having a real-time English lesson while enjoying a movie. Gradually, I started watching without any subtitles, and this was a big step in my journey. Staying consistent was something I always reminded myself to do. There were days when I felt like I wasn't making much progress, but I kept reminding myself that learning takes time. Even if it was just 10 or 15 minutes a day, I made sure to practice something. Whether it was reading a short article, listening to a podcast, or reviewing vocabulary flashcards. Over time, all these little efforts added up, and I saw significant improvement. I remember one of my proudest moments was when I was able to help someone else who was also learning English. They were struggling with a sentence, and I was able to explain it to them clearly. It felt incredible to share what I had learned and to realize how far I had come. Helping someone else made me feel even more confident in my own skills. Another important thing I learned was the value of curiosity. Whenever I encountered a new word, I would immediately look it up. I became fascinated by how English words are used in different contexts, and this curiosity kept me engaged. For example, I learned that the word run can be used in so many different ways. You can run fast, run a business, or even run out of time. Understanding these multiple meanings made me feel more comfortable with the language. Listening was also a huge part of my learning process. I would listen to English songs, podcasts, and even news programs. It wasn't easy at first, especially because native speakers often speak quickly, but the more I listened, the better I became at understanding. I started picking up on the rhythm of the language, the way certain words are pronounced, and how native speakers express themselves. Another thing I did was change the language settings on my phone and computer to English. This may seem like a small thing, but it made a big difference. Every time I used my phone, I was exposed to more English, and this constant exposure helped reinforce the words I was learning. I also made sure to have fun while learning English. Learning doesn't always have to be serious. I played word games, watched funny videos, and read stories that interested me. When learning feels like fun, it's much easier to stay motivated. One of my favorite memories is from a time when I was able to have a long conversation in English without any help. It felt like such a huge achievement, and it motivated me to keep going. Taking breaks was something I learned to appreciate as well. There were times when I felt tired or frustrated with my progress, so I would step away for a short break. Whether it was going for a walk or doing something I enjoyed, taking a break gave my brain a rest. When I returned to studying, I felt refreshed and more focused. In addition to practicing every day, I found that using flashcards was a great way to memorize new words. I would write down new vocabulary words on small cards and review them throughout the day. I even started carrying the flashcards with me so I could review them whenever I had a spare moment, like when I was waiting in line or on the bus. One of the most important lessons I learned was to stay positive, even when things seemed difficult. There were times when I felt like giving up, especially when I made mistakes or struggled with certain words. But I reminded myself that every mistake was a learning opportunity, and every small step forward was progress. Surrounding myself with English made a huge difference too. I made it a point to listen to English music, read English books, and watch English movies. The more I immersed myself in the language, the faster I learned. It was like being in an English-speaking environment all the time, and it really accelerated my learning. I also learned the importance of setting realistic goals. Trying to learn everything at once can be overwhelming, so I broke my learning into smaller, manageable steps. For example, I would focus on mastering a few new words each day, rather than trying to memorize an entire list at once. This made the process much less stressful and more enjoyable. Another tip that helped me was practicing speaking with native speakers. This was a bit intimidating at first, but it was one of the best ways to improve my pronunciation and understanding of how English is used in everyday conversations. Native speakers often use expressions and slang that you might not find in textbooks, so talking to them helped me learn English in a more natural and practical way. I realized that learning English is not just about studying. It's about using the language as much as possible in real life. Whether I was talking to friends, reading articles, or even writing down my thoughts in English, the more I used the language, the more comfortable I became. One of my favorite quotes that kept me motivated was, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." This reminded me to enjoy the process of learning English, to appreciate the progress I was making, and to stay positive, even when the journey seemed tough. In conclusion, learning English has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. It has opened so many doors for me, from better communication with people around the world to new career opportunities. I learned that patience, consistency, and a positive attitude are the keys to success. Every new word, every sentence I understood, and every conversation I had in English was a step forward. So, if you're learning English, remember to be patient with yourself, practice every day, and celebrate your progress along the way. It's a journey, not a race, and every step you take brings you closer to fluency. Learning a new language can be challenging, but it is a journey filled with opportunities for growth. One thing I've learned over the years is that it's perfectly okay to ask for help when you don't understand something. Whether it's a difficult word, a complex sentence, or a confusing grammar rule, never hesitate to ask someone to explain it to you. Most people are happy to help, and sharing knowledge can benefit both the learner and the helper. One of the best pieces of advice I received early on was to be patient with myself. Learning any new skill, especially a language like English, takes time. You won't become fluent overnight, and that's completely normal. The important thing is to keep working at it, little by little, every day. Over time, the effort you put in will pay off, and you'll begin to see the progress you've made. I remember when I first started learning English, I realized that mastering the language could open many doors for me. Not only did it help me communicate with people from different parts of the world, but it also gave me access to more information and resources. I could read articles, watch movies, and even apply for better job opportunities that required English proficiency. Learning English became a gateway to new possibilities that I hadn't imagined before. One quote that stuck with me during my journey was, "The best way to predict your future is to create it." This phrase motivated me to continue learning English, even when it felt difficult. I knew that if I worked hard, I could achieve my goals. Every new word I learned, every sentence I understood, brought me one step closer to fluency. To stay motivated, I started setting small, achievable goals for myself. For example, one week, I would aim to learn 5 new words. The next week, I would focus on using those words in sentences. These small goals helped me stay focused and gave me a sense of accomplishment. Each time I reached one of these goals, I felt proud of myself, which kept me going. One of the most helpful things I did was to use English in real-life situations as much as possible. Whether it was ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, or simply chatting with a friend, practicing English in everyday life made a huge difference. I remember one day I was at a coffee shop and the cashier spoke to me in English. For the first time, I understood everything she said, and I responded without hesitation. It was a small moment, but it made me realize just how much I had improved. Another thing that helped me was watching English news channels. At first, I found it really difficult to understand everything the reporters were saying, but as I kept watching, I began to pick up more words and phrases. Watching the news not only improved my listening skills, but also taught me new words and how they were used in real-life contexts. One simple but powerful technique I discovered was repeating what I heard in English. If I listened to a sentence or phrase, I would say it out loud to myself. Repeating sentences helped me remember the structure and improve my pronunciation. It felt a little strange at first, but over time, this method helped me speak more fluently and naturally. It's also important to celebrate the small victories along the way. Every time I learned a new word or finally understood a difficult concept, I would take a moment to congratulate myself. Learning a new language is like building a house. You start with a solid foundation of basic words and phrases. Then you build up with more complex sentences, and eventually you add the final touches, which is fluency. This analogy helped me understand the process of learning and made me more patient with myself. I also learned that it's completely okay to make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is a key part of the learning process. I remember a time when I used the wrong word during a conversation with a friend. My friend gently corrected me, and from that day on, I never forgot the right word. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn something new, so don't be afraid to get things wrong sometimes. Another strategy that helped me was to start thinking in English. Instead of translating everything from my native language into English, I tried to form thoughts directly in English. This shift helped me become more comfortable with the language and made speaking feel more natural. One of the best things you can do while learning English is to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. I started listening to English radio stations, reading English books, and even changing the language settings on my phone to English. Surrounding myself with the language helped me pick up new words and phrases without even realizing it. Immersion is a powerful tool because it forces you to engage with the language in different ways. I'll never forget a special moment when I was able to help someone else with their English. A friend of mine was struggling with a particular sentence, and I was able to explain it to them. It felt amazing to share what I had learned and to see them understand something that had been difficult for them. Moments like that remind me that learning a language isn't just about personal progress. It's also about being able to connect with and help others. I also made it a habit to set aside time each day to study English. Even if it was just for 10 or 15 minutes, those small chunks of time added up over weeks and months. Consistency is key when learning a language. You don't need to study for hours every day. Just a few minutes of focused practice can make a big difference in the long run. One quote that really inspired me during my learning journey was, "Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going." This reminded me to stay focused on the process and not worry about how fast I was progressing. Some days it felt like I wasn't making any progress at all, but I knew that if I kept practicing, I would improve over time. Another thing that helped me was to review what I had learned on a regular basis. Each week I would go back over the new words and phrases I had studied. This review helped reinforce the material and made sure I didn't forget anything. Practicing speaking is one of the most important aspects of learning English. Whether I was speaking with friends, family, or even talking to myself, I made sure to practice speaking as much as possible. Speaking out loud helped build my confidence and made me feel more comfortable using the language in everyday situations. One more thing that kept me motivated was setting goals. I would challenge myself to learn one new word each day or finish reading an article in English. These small, manageable goals gave me something to work towards and made the learning process more enjoyable. I've heard it said that success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out. And I believe that's true for learning English as well. Every little bit of practice adds up over time, and before you know it, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. In conclusion, learning English is a journey that requires patience, consistency, and a positive attitude. There will be ups and downs along the way, but if you stay committed to your goals, you will get there. Celebrate your small victories, keep asking questions, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Each new word, phrase, or conversation is a step forward on the path to fluency. Stay curious, keep practicing, and remember that every bit of effort counts toward your success. I also discovered that learning English wasn't just about understanding grammar and vocabulary. It was about gaining confidence. When I first started speaking English, I was nervous. I was afraid of making mistakes or being laughed at. But over time, I realized that everyone makes mistakes when they're learning something new, and that's okay. In fact, making mistakes is one of the best ways to learn. If you don't try, you'll never know what you need to improve. So, I told myself that it's better to try and fail than not try at all. One day, I remember being at a small coffee shop in a different city. The waiter asked me something in English, and I didn't understand everything. Instead of panicking, I calmly asked him to repeat the question. He was kind and repeated it more slowly, and this time I understood what he was saying. I was able to place my order in English without feeling embarrassed. This was a huge step for me. It showed me that it's okay to not understand everything the first time. What matters is that you keep trying and don't give up. Another time, I had to ask for directions in English while I was visiting a different part of the country. I was lost and didn't know how to get to my destination. Instead of feeling helpless, I decided to ask someone for help. I approached a friendly-looking person and said, "Excuse me, could you help me find this place?" The person gave me directions in English, and I was able to understand most of what they said. Even though I didn't catch every single word, I understood enough to get where I needed to go. It was moments like these that boosted my confidence in using English in real life. I also started learning English through reading. At first, I would read simple books, children's books even. They were written in simple English, and I could understand most of the words. Whenever I came across a new word, I would write it down and look up its meaning. This not only helped me expand my vocabulary, but also improved my understanding of sentence structures. Over time, I moved on to more challenging books, like short stories or magazines. Reading was a fun way to learn because I could do it at my own pace. Plus, it was something I could do anywhere, on the bus, before bed, or during lunch breaks. I realized that learning English had opened up so many new opportunities for me. I was able to apply for better jobs, communicate with people from different countries, and even travel more confidently. English became more than just a subject I was studying. It became a tool that allowed me to connect with the world. One of the biggest moments for me was when I got a job that required me to use English every day. This was a huge milestone because it showed me just how far I had come. I no longer felt nervous about speaking English in professional settings. In fact, I felt proud of my ability to communicate in a second language. Learning English has been a journey, and while it hasn't always been easy, it has definitely been worth it. Each day brought new challenges, but also new victories. I remember the first time I had a full conversation with someone in English without needing any help. It was such a rewarding experience, and it motivated me to keep going. Even now, I continue to learn and improve my English skills, whether it's through reading, listening, or speaking. It's a process, and I've learned to enjoy it. So, if you're learning English too, my advice is to be patient with yourself. Set small, achievable goals, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem, and keep practicing every day. Remember, every step you take brings you closer to fluency, and most importantly, have fun with it. Whether you're watching your favorite show, reading an interesting book, or chatting with a friend, learning English can be an enjoyable and rewarding experience. By following these tips and staying consistent, I was able to make great progress in learning English. And if I can do it, so can you. Today, we're taking you on an incredible journey to explore the daily lives of people from every corner of the globe. Each story is unique, packed with emotions, and filled with expressions that bring English to life in a natural and engaging way. From bustling cities to peaceful villages, from thrilling adventures to quiet routines, you'll get to see how people live, work, and enjoy their days across different cultures and backgrounds. Not only will you learn new words and phrases, but you'll also feel the rhythm, excitement, and warmth of these lives as if you're right there with them. So sit back, relax, and get ready to practice English with real stories from real people. This is Simple Spoken English, and we're thrilled to have you on this journey. Emma's routine in London. I'm Emma, and I absolutely love my weekends. They're so exciting, always filled with things I adore, singing, reading, and just living life to the fullest. My weekdays? Well, they're enjoyable too. I'm lucky. I live close to a cozy little bookstore in the heart of London where I work, so my mornings aren't rushed. I get to wake up at 8 a.m., make myself a nice breakfast, and sit with a cup of tea as I watch the morning news. Isn't that a perfect start? When I finally head out, the air is crisp, and my short walk to work feels like a peaceful little adventure. Throughout the day, I'm busy helping people find the books they're looking for, and I just love the look on their faces when they find exactly what they wanted. At noon, I usually grab a sandwich from the deli nearby. It's simple but delicious. Sometimes I take my lunch outside if the weather's nice, or I might even squeeze in a quick gym session before heading back. Most evenings I finish work by 5:30, and I love having that bit of time to myself afterward. Sometimes I catch up with friends. Other times I go for a relaxing walk around the neighborhood. But twice a week, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I stay late at the bookstore working until 10:30 p.m. It's tiring, no doubt. By the time I get home, cooking feels like too much effort, so I treat myself to dinner at a little restaurant near my place. Their pasta is my absolute favorite. Then comes the weekend, and that's when things get really exciting. I sing at a small club on Saturday nights. It's thrilling, but I'll admit, I get nervous every time. My heart races, my palms get a little sweaty, and there's this tiny voice in my head that wonders, will they like my performance tonight? But once I'm up there, I forget all that and just enjoy the music. Life feels full, and I wouldn't change a thing. Amara's adventures in Mumbai. Namaste! I'm Amara, and I'm a journalist living in the vibrant, never-sleeping city of Mumbai, India. My days are unpredictable, exciting, and sometimes, well, often, a bit overwhelming. But honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. Every morning starts at 7 a.m. with a strong cup of masala chai. The spiced aroma wakes me up, and as I take those first sips, I feel the city coming to life around me. The honking cars, the street vendors setting up their stalls, the neighbors greeting each other. It's all a symphony, and I'm part of it. As a journalist, my day can take me anywhere. One morning, I might be in a crowded market, covering a festival full of colors, music, and dance. The next, I'm sitting in a quiet neighborhood, listening to someone's incredible life story. Mumbai is a city of contrasts, and I feel privileged to share its stories with the world. Evenings, I try to unwind, sometimes with a book, other times with a quick yoga session. Weekends, though, are my escape. I love wandering through art galleries, discovering hidden cafes, and watching the sunset over Marine Drive. This city is a part of me. I live it, breathe it, and love it. Zara's life in Cape Town. Hi, I'm Zara, and let me tell you, living in Cape Town is a dream. My weekdays? Oh, they're packed, but in a way that makes me feel alive. Every morning I'm up by 6 a.m., brewing a steaming cup of rooibos tea. As I sip, I watch the sun rising over Table Mountain. The colors are just breathtaking. Doesn't that sound amazing? I work as a teacher, so I spend my day surrounded by eager, curious students who never fail to surprise me. Sure, it's challenging, but when you see that spark in a child's eyes, it's worth every bit of effort. At lunch, I usually pack a simple sandwich and head to the school garden to relax under the shade of a tree. It's my little oasis, a moment of peace amidst all the noise. Once school is out, I like to take a short walk along the beach. There's something about the ocean breeze that clears my mind. Sometimes I kick off my shoes and let the sand cool my tired feet. I feel so connected to this place, to Cape Town. It's as if the city's rhythm matches my own heartbeat. Weekends are my chance to explore. The local markets, oh, they're filled with colors, spices, laughter, and life. I pick up fresh produce, chat with the vendors, and maybe even treat myself to a beautiful handmade bracelet. And of course, Sunday afternoons are family time. We gather, we laugh, and we share stories of our week. I wouldn't trade this life for anything else. Hola, I'm Carlos, a chef in the heart of Mexico City, and let me tell you, my life revolves around flavors, colors, and the beautiful chaos of a busy kitchen. My day? Well, it doesn't start until 9 a.m., but I wouldn't call it late. Why? Because I work late into the night, and it's the rush, the energy, and the sizzle of the stove that I live for. Every morning I head to the bustling market, filled with the freshest ingredients, plump tomatoes, fragrant cilantro, and the brightest chili peppers you can imagine. The vendors shout greetings, we laugh, we bargain, and sometimes I try a taste of something new. It's my favorite part of the day. Back at the restaurant, I'm in my element. I'm constantly tasting, adjusting, and experimenting with new dishes. I've got a love for traditional Mexican flavors, but I always add my twist, a little fusion, a little creativity. Around 3 p.m., I take a short break to eat. Chefs need to eat too. And sometimes I scroll through cooking blogs for inspiration. And the lunch rush? It's like a symphony. Everyone moving in perfect harmony, from the waitstaff to the line cooks. We're like a family. My shift usually wraps up past midnight. Exhausted? Absolutely. But I love it. On Sundays, my only free day, I gather with my family. We cook together, of course. Tacos, tamales, and my mother's mole. It's the best in the city. Sundays are all about love, laughter, and good food. It's my perfect end to the week. Sophia's family-focused life in Rome. Ciao. I'm Sophia, and I live in Rome, Italy. My life is all about family, food, and tradition. I work in my family's bakery, and my days start early, at 5:30 a.m. Can you believe it? The sun isn't even up yet, but I am ready to start baking. By 6 a.m., the smell of fresh bread fills the bakery. We make everything from scratch, crusty loaves, soft pastries, and of course, cannoli. Customers start trickling in around 7 a.m., and we greet them with a warm buongiorno. I love seeing the same faces every morning. We're not just selling bread, we're sharing a piece of our lives. At lunchtime, we close the bakery for a few hours, and I go home to eat with my family. Pasta, salad, maybe a glass of wine. It's a ritual, a chance to pause and savor life. In the afternoon, it's back to the bakery, making sure everything's perfect for the evening crowd. By 7 p.m., I'm exhausted, but my heart is full. On Sundays, we gather at my nonna's house, and she cooks for everyone. Pasta, roast lamb, and her famous tiramisu. We eat, we laugh, and we argue, as Italian families do. Life in Rome is beautiful, full of love, flavor, and family. I wouldn't change a single thing. Ethan's quiet life in a small Canadian town. Hello, I'm Ethan, and I live in a small town in Ontario, Canada. It's quiet here, peaceful, and a bit cold in the winter. but I love it. I work as a librarian, so my days are filled with books, soft whispers, and the smell of old paper. Sounds nice, doesn't it? My day starts at 8 a.m. with a hot cup of coffee as I watch the snow falling gently outside. Winters here are long and cold, but they're also magical. I bundle up and head to the library where I help people find books, recommend new reads, and sometimes even host reading sessions for kids. Lunch is usually a quick soup or sandwich at the little cafe next door, and then it's back to the quiet hum of the library. After work, I like to take a walk around the lake if it's not too cold. The stillness of the snow-covered landscape is something I cherish. Weekends are for family. We gather, we play board games, and we laugh a lot. Life here may seem simple to some, but to me, it's everything I need. Aisha's life as a doctor in Nairobi. Hello, I'm Aisha, and I'm a doctor living just outside Nairobi, Kenya. My work? Well, it's not your typical doctor's job. I'm what people call a flying doctor. Every morning I'm up at 5:30 a.m., and by 6 a.m. I'm reviewing my day's schedule while sipping strong Kenyan coffee. It's the kind of job that requires you to be alert, ready, and, most of all, passionate. From 8 to 10 a.m., I'm on the radio, speaking with people from remote areas who need medical advice. Sometimes it's a simple question. Other times it's an emergency. By late morning, I'm up in the air, flying to villages that are miles away. The views from above are breathtaking. Vast savannas, winding rivers, and the occasional herd of elephants. But when I land, there's no time to enjoy the scenery. I'm here to help. The days are long, often 16 hours or more. I don't have much free time, but I find joy in my work. Each person I help, each life I touch, makes every moment worth it. My job is demanding, yet it's also deeply fulfilling. I know I'm making a difference, and that's what keeps me going. Mateo's musical journey in Austin. Hey there, I'm Mateo, a music professor originally from Budapest, Hungary, but now living in Austin, Texas. My life? It's filled with melodies, rhythms, and the occasional out-of-tune piano. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. and start my day with some warm-up exercises. Not physical ones, but vocal scales and a bit of piano practice to get my fingers moving. Teaching music is more than a job to me. It's my passion, my soul. I feel incredibly lucky to be sharing my love of music with students who are as eager to learn as I am to teach. My classes start around 9 a.m., and the days fly by. We discuss composers, we practice, and sometimes we just get lost in the music. At lunch, I head to a little cafe near the university for a quick sandwich. The cafe owner even knows my order by heart. In the evenings, if I'm not too tired, I play tennis with friends. It's a good balance to my otherwise musical life. And on weekends, my family and I often take day trips to explore Texas, or I might work on a new piece of music. Life here is different from Budapest, but it's filled with rhythm, harmony, and a little bit of adventure. Naomi's artistic routine in Kyoto. Konnichiwa, I'm Naomi, and I'm an artist in Kyoto, Japan. My life revolves around colors, textures, and the delicate balance of art and nature. Kyoto is such an inspiring place, the temples, the cherry blossoms, the peaceful gardens. It all feels like a painting come to life. My day begins at 5 a.m., just as the sun begins to rise. I take a short walk to the nearby temple, where I sit in quiet meditation, listening to the birds and the rustling trees. It's my moment of peace before the day starts. By 6:30 a.m., I'm back in my small studio, ready to create. I spend my mornings working on new pieces, often inspired by the changing seasons. Lunchtime is a simple meal of rice, miso soup, and pickled vegetables, prepared with the same care and mindfulness as my art. After lunch, I head to the local art gallery, where I teach a class on traditional Japanese painting techniques. My students are wonderful. They're so passionate, so dedicated. In the evening, I unwind with a book or take another peaceful walk. My weekends are often spent exploring Kyoto's many shrines and gardens, searching for inspiration. My life is quiet, gentle, and filled with beauty, a perfect reflection of Kyoto itself. Jamal's entrepreneurial life in Dubai. Salam. I'm Jamal, an entrepreneur based in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. My life? Fast-paced, high-energy, and never boring. Dubai is a city of dreams, and I'm lucky enough to be chasing mine here. I wake up at 5 a.m. and start my day with a quick workout. By 6 a.m., I'm at my desk, checking emails and organizing meetings. Running a tech company means staying on top of things. It's all about innovation, connections, and, sometimes, taking risks. But that's what I love. My office is on the 23rd floor of a skyscraper overlooking the Dubai Marina. The view is incredible, and on clear days I can even see the Burj Khalifa from my window. My afternoons are filled with back-to-back meetings, brainstorming sessions, and pitches to potential investors. It's intense, but it's also thrilling. By evening, I try to wrap up work by 8 p.m., but I usually end up staying later. Dubai's energy is contagious. It's a city that never sleeps, and sometimes neither do I. Weekends are for unwinding. I might go dune bashing in the desert or relax with friends at a rooftop lounge. Dubai is my playground, my inspiration, and my home. Sophia's charming life in Buenos Aires. Hola, I'm Sophia, and I live in the lively, colorful city of Buenos Aires, Argentina. My life here is a mix of dance, laughter, and, of course, tango. Every morning, I start with a warm cup of mate. It's a tradition here. As I sip, I watch the city waking up around me, people greeting each other, the street vendors setting up their stalls. Buenos Aires has this incredible energy. It's vibrant, passionate, and alive. I'm a dance instructor, so my day is filled with music and movement. I teach tango classes at a small studio in the heart of the city. My students range from young couples to older adults, all eager to learn this beautiful, passionate dance. At lunch, I often grab an empanada from a local cafe, something quick and delicious. Evenings? They're my favorite. I usually meet friends at a milonga, a tango dance hall, where we dance, laugh, and lose ourselves in the music. On weekends, I explore the city's art galleries or stroll through the San Telmo market, which is full of history and unique finds. Life here is intense, full of rhythm and soul, just like the tango. Anna's rural life in Bavaria. Guten Tag. I'm Anna, and I live in a small village in Bavaria, Germany. My life is simple, quiet, and centered around the rhythms of nature. I wake up at 5:30 a.m., just as the first light of dawn touches the fields. My family owns a dairy farm, so there's always work to be done. My morning starts with feeding the animals. Then we milk the cows and make sure everything is in order. It's hard work, but there's something so rewarding about it. Breakfast is a family affair. Homemade bread, cheese, and fresh milk, all from our farm. Afterward, I tend to the vegetable garden, which provides us with everything from potatoes to cabbage. There's a special peace in working with the earth, in watching things grow. In the afternoon, I might go into town to sell our produce at the market. I love chatting with our neighbors, sharing recipes, and catching up on local news. Evenings are quiet. We gather for a warm meal, and afterward I usually knit or read by the fire. Life here is calm, steady, and full of purpose. Omar's bustling life in Cairo. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Omar, a tour guide living in Cairo, Egypt. My life? It's as lively and crowded as the city itself. I start my day early, 5 a.m., to beat the heat. By 6 a.m., I'm at the pyramids, ready to greet my first group of tourists. Every day, I share the wonders of ancient Egypt with people from all over the world, and their excitement is contagious. The stories, the history, the mystery of it all, it's a privilege to bring it to life for them. Lunchtime? I usually grab something quick, like koshari, a delicious mix of pasta, rice, and lentils. Afternoons are spent guiding more tours, and I'm constantly moving, answering questions, and keeping everyone engaged. After work, I sometimes join friends for tea at a local cafe. We talk about our day, the funny moments with tourists, and the latest football match. Cairo is my city. It's busy, it's loud, and it's chaotic. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Fatima's family life in Marrakesh. Salam, I'm Fatima, and I live in the vibrant city of Marrakesh, Morocco. Life here is a whirlwind of colors, spices, and tradition. I'm a mother of 3, and my days revolve around my family and our small family-owned carpet shop in the Medina, Old Town. My mornings start early, at around 5 a.m., with a quiet moment for prayer. By 6 a.m., I'm preparing breakfast, fresh bread, olives, and mint tea for my family. The streets are still quiet as I open the shop, and I love this calm before the bustling Medina comes to life. Our shop is filled with hand-woven carpets, each one a work of art. Tourists often stop by, enchanted by the colors and designs. I enjoy sharing stories about our culture and the history of each carpet. My husband and I run the shop together, and in the afternoons we usually share a traditional tagine meal in the back, surrounded by the warmth of our family heritage. Evenings are my favorite time. After closing the shop, we gather with friends and neighbors for tea and laughter. My life is rooted in family, tradition, and the beauty of Marrakesh. It's a simple life, but it's filled with love and meaning. Luca's academic life in Zurich. Grüezi! I'm Luca, a university student in Zurich, Switzerland. And my life? It's all about books, studies, and the occasional adventure in the Alps. I start my day at 7 a.m. with a strong cup of coffee. By 8 taus, I'm biking to campus, ready for a full day of classes and study sessions. I'm majoring in environmental science, and my studies are challenging but incredibly rewarding. Zurich is a beautiful city, and I love how the university is surrounded by parks and lakes. Lunchtime is my escape. I often grab a quick sandwich and find a quiet spot by the lake. It's my time to clear my head and enjoy the scenery. In the afternoons, I'm back to my classes or the library, buried in research papers and lab reports. Weekends are for the mountains. My friends and I go hiking, skiing, or just explore the trails. There's nothing like the crisp mountain air to recharge for the week ahead. My life is busy, focused, and driven by my passion for the environment. I wouldn't want it any other way. May's creative life in Shanghai. Ni hao. I'm May, an illustrator living in Shanghai, China. My life is a blend of creativity, culture, and the bustling energy of this incredible city. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. and start my day with a quick Tai Chi session in the nearby park. It's a peaceful way to center myself before diving into my art. By 8 a.m., I'm in my studio, surrounded by sketchbooks, paints, and my favorite brushes. I work freelance, so each day is different. Some days I'm illustrating children's books. Other days I'm working on traditional Chinese art. At lunchtime, I head to a small noodle shop around the corner. It's always busy, filled with people from all walks of life. Shanghai is like that. Fast, energetic, and endlessly inspiring. In the afternoons, I usually take a break to visit the art district, where I meet fellow artists and explore new exhibitions. Evenings are my quiet time. I light some incense, pour myself a cup of green tea, and sketch whatever comes to mind. On weekends, I visit my family or go to the traditional markets for inspiration. Shanghai is a city that feeds my creativity, and I feel so grateful to live here. Ravi's joyful life in Kerala. Namaskaram. I'm Ravi, a school teacher in a small village in Kerala, India. Life here? It's simple yet filled with warmth, laughter, and the beauty of nature. I wake up at 5 a.m. to the sounds of birds and the gentle rustling of palm trees. After a quick breakfast of dosa and coconut chutney, I head to the village school where I teach 3rd grade. My students are curious, full of questions, and their enthusiasm brightens my day. At noon, I take a short break to enjoy a traditional Kerala meal. Rice, sambar, and vegetables served on a banana leaf. It's fresh, delicious, and a daily reminder of the flavors of home. My afternoons are spent tutoring students or working on lesson plans. Evenings are my time to unwind. I take a walk along the river or meet friends at the local tea stall. Weekends are for family gatherings where we cook, laugh, and share stories. Life here may be simple, but it's filled with joy, connection, and a deep sense of belonging. Daniel's nature-filled life in British Columbia. Hey there, I'm Daniel, a park ranger in British Columbia, Canada, and my life. It's all about nature, adventure, and keeping the wilderness safe. I wake up at dawn, around 6 a.m., with the sound of birds and the scent of pine trees filling the air. My job takes me deep into the forests, mountains, and lakes of British Columbia, and each day is a new adventure. I check trails, monitor wildlife, and sometimes I guide visitors through the park. At noon, I stop for lunch at a lookout point with a view of the mountains. There's something so grounding about eating in the middle of nature. Afternoons are filled with more patrols, wildlife checks, and the occasional rescue mission. It's hard work, but it's incredibly rewarding. After a long day, I return to my cabin, where I unwind by the fire with a book or a journal. Weekends are often spent hiking, kayaking, or camping with friends. Life in the wilderness has its challenges, but the beauty of nature makes every moment worth it. Isabella's peaceful life in Tuscany. Ciao. I'm Isabella, and I live in a small village in Tuscany, Italy. My days are filled with the simple pleasures of life. good food, good company, and the beauty of the countryside. I wake up at 6 a.m. and start my day with a walk through the vineyards. The morning light on the hills is just magical. By 7, I'm back home making breakfast for my family. We enjoy fresh bread, olive oil, and fruit from our own garden. Tuscany is all about savoring life, and I cherish every moment. I work as a tour guide, showing visitors around the beautiful vineyards, olive groves, and historic villas of our region. I love sharing the history and traditions of Tuscany and seeing the joy on people's faces when they experience its beauty. In the evenings, we gather as a family for dinner, pasta, salad, and maybe a little wine. Afterward, I often sit outside watching the stars and listening to the sounds of the countryside. Life here is peaceful, fulfilling, and rooted in the love of family and tradition. Mateo's lively life in Rio de Janeiro. Oi, I'm Mateo, a samba musician living in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. My life? It's all about rhythm, passion, and the vibrant energy of this city. I wake up at 7 a.m., greeted by the sounds of the city, car horns, laughter, and distant music. My mornings are spent practicing samba rhythms on my drums. By 10 a.m., I'm off to teach samba classes at a local school, where I get to share the music and dance that are the heart of Brazilian culture. Lunchtime is a feast. Rice, beans, and feijoada, a hearty stew. In the afternoons, I rehearse with my band, preparing for our next performance. Rio's music scene is electrifying, and there's always something happening. Evenings? I'm usually performing at a local bar or out dancing. The energy, the laughter, the joy of sharing music with others, it's what I live for. On weekends, I hit the beach with friends, or we climb up to Christ the Redeemer for a view of the city. Rio is my home, my inspiration, and my soul. Hannah's adventurous life in Auckland. Kia ora. I'm Hannah, an adventure guide in Auckland, New Zealand. My life is filled with thrill, nature, and meeting people from all around the world. My day begins at 6 a.m. with a swim at the beach. By 8 I'm at work, preparing for the day's activities. Zip lining, rock climbing, or leading tours through the stunning landscapes of New Zealand. Every day is different, and I love the excitement. Lunchtime is often a picnic with my tour group, surrounded by the incredible scenery. My afternoons are spent guiding people through challenges and cheering them on. It's amazing to see people conquer their fears and embrace the adventure. Evenings are for relaxation. I go to a cozy cafe, grab a cup of flat white coffee, and unwind. On weekends, I'm usually exploring a new trail or camping under the stars. Life in Auckland is thrilling, beautiful, and always an adventure. Yara's beachside life in Santorini. Yasu. I'm Yara, a hotel manager on the stunning island of Santorini, Greece. Life here is filled with sunshine, ocean views, and people from all around the world. Every day feels like a holiday, even though I work hard to make sure our guests have the time of their lives. I start my day around 6:30 a.m. with a quick swim in the crystal-clear waters. By 8 a.m., I'm at the hotel, making sure everything is perfect, from fresh flowers in the lobby to the breakfast buffet. The guests arrive with bright smiles, and I love hearing their excitement about exploring the island. Around lunchtime, I take a break to enjoy a traditional Greek salad with feta cheese, olives, and fresh vegetables. It's simple but so flavorful. In the afternoons, I often organize special events, weddings, parties, or sunset dinners overlooking the caldera. Santorini's sunsets are magical, and I feel lucky to witness them every day. Evenings? I unwind with friends at a local taverna, enjoying live music, dancing, and delicious mezze. On my days off, I explore the island's hidden beaches or hike the volcanic cliffs. Santorini is paradise, and I can't imagine living anywhere else. Elena's rustic life in Provence. Bonjour. I'm Elena, a lavender farmer in Provence, France. My life here is quiet, gentle, and filled with the beauty of nature. I spend my days among fields of lavender, surrounded by the colors and scents of the French countryside. I wake up at 5:30 a.m., just as the sun is rising, and head out to the fields. The lavender blooms are a sight to behold, a sea of purple stretching out as far as the eye can see. By 7 a.m., I'm carefully harvesting the flowers, gathering them into bundles to make essential oils, soaps, and perfumes. Lunchtime is a simple affair: fresh baguette, cheese, and a few olives. In the afternoons, I prepare products to sell at the local market, chatting with neighbors and sharing tips on gardening and aromatherapy. Evenings are quiet and peaceful. I relax with a glass of wine, watching the sunset over the lavender fields. Life here is slow, filled with nature, and deeply rewarding. Provence is my sanctuary, my home, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Ahmed's dynamic life in Istanbul. Merhaba, I'm Ahmed, a calligrapher and artist in Istanbul, Turkey. Life here is vibrant, full of history, art, and the energy of the bustling streets. Every day, I'm inspired by the beauty and culture of this ancient city. My day begins at 6 a.m. with a walk through the Grand Bazaar. The sights, the sounds, the spices, it's like stepping back in time. By 8 a.m., I'm in my studio, surrounded by inks, brushes, and paper, ready to create. Calligraphy is an art of patience and precision, and I lose myself in the flowing lines and delicate strokes. Lunchtime is a treat. I often enjoy a traditional dish like simit, a sesame-covered bread, and tea at a small cafe. In the afternoons, I teach calligraphy classes, sharing my passion with students of all ages. Istanbul is a city where the old meets the new, and I love being part of its artistic soul. In the evenings, I stroll by the Bosphorus, watching the boats drift by. On weekends, I visit museums or explore the city's historical sites. Istanbul is my muse, my inspiration, and my heart. Kai's energetic life in Seoul. Annyeonghaseyo. I'm Kai, a dance instructor in Seoul, South Korea. My life? It's fast-paced, filled with music, movement, and the endless energy of this city. My day starts at 6:30 a.m. with a jog along the Han River, where the city wakes up around me. By 8 a.m., I'm at the dance studio, warming up and preparing for my first class. Teaching dance is my passion, and my students bring so much energy and enthusiasm. It's contagious. At lunchtime, I grab a quick bite of bibimbap, a delicious rice dish with vegetables, meat, and spicy gochujang sauce. In the afternoons, I often choreograph new routines or practice with fellow dancers. Seoul's dance scene is competitive, and I love the challenge. Evenings are for performances. Sometimes I'm on stage, other times I'm in the audience supporting my friends. Weekends are for exploration. I visit cafes, art galleries, or the bustling shopping districts. Seoul is alive with creativity, and it's my playground, my stage, and my inspiration. Ismael's adventurous life in Buenos Aires. Hola! I'm Ismael, a tour guide and street performer in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Life here is all about rhythm, passion, and the thrill of the moment. I start my day at 8 a.m. with a warm cup of mate tea, a tradition that brings comfort and connection. By 10 a.m., I'm in the heart of the city, leading tours through historic neighborhoods and sharing stories of Buenos Aires. The city. I'm Ismael. Ismael's adventurous life in Buenos Aires. Hola, I'm Ismael, a tour guide and street performer in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Life here is all about rhythm, passion, and the thrill of the moment. I start my day at 8 a.m. with a warm cup of mate tea, a tradition that brings comfort and connection. By 10 a.m., I'm in the heart of the city, leading tours through historic neighborhoods and sharing stories of Buenos Aires. The city's culture is rich, and I feel honored to be part of its heartbeat. Lunchtime? Empanadas, of course. They're easy to grab on the go, and the flavors are incredible. In the afternoons, I perform tango on the streets, dancing to the music that fills the air. Tango is more than a dance. It's a way of expressing the soul of Argentina. Evenings are for family and friends. We gather for asado, a traditional barbecue, sharing laughter and stories late into the night. Buenos Aires is my stage, my inspiration, and my home. Life here is passionate, filled with energy, and I love every moment. Chinwee's family-centered life in Lagos. Ekabo. I'm Chinwe, a mother and teacher in Lagos, Nigeria. Life here is bustling, colorful, and filled with the warmth of family and community. My day starts early at 5 a.m. with a quick moment for prayer. By 6 a.m., I'm preparing breakfast for my children and getting ready for school. I teach 5th grade, and my students bring so much joy and curiosity to each day. At lunchtime, I share a meal with my colleagues, often a delicious dish of jollof rice or yam porridge. Afternoons are for lessons, laughter, and sometimes a bit of chaos. Children are full of energy, after all. In the evenings, I unwind with my family. We share stories, help with homework, and enjoy a quiet dinner together. On weekends, I visit the market or spend time with extended family. Lagos is my home, my support, and my happiness. Samuel's tech-focused life in Silicon Valley. Hey, I'm Samuel, a software engineer in Silicon Valley, California. My life? It's all about code, innovation, and the drive to create something new. My day begins at 7 a.m. with a cup of strong coffee and a quick run to clear my mind. By 9 a.m., I'm at my desk, diving into lines of code, debugging, and collaborating with my team on our latest project. Tech is fast-paced, and the pressure is high, but it's exhilarating. Lunch is usually something quick, a salad or sandwich, while brainstorming with colleagues. The afternoons fly by in a blur of meetings, coding, and testing new ideas. Silicon Valley is all about pushing boundaries, and I love the challenge. Evenings. I unwind with friends at a local pub or catch a startup event. Weekends are for hiking in the nearby hills or testing out the latest gadgets. Life here is intense, competitive, and full of opportunity. Layla's desert life in Dubai. Salam. I'm Layla, an environmental scientist living on the edge of the desert in Dubai, UAE. My life is a mix of research, adventure, and a love for the desert landscape. I start my day at 6 a.m., just as the sun rises over the sand dunes. By 8 a.m., I'm out in the field, collecting samples and studying the unique flora and fauna of the desert. My work is challenging, but the beauty of the desert makes it all worth it. At lunchtime, I enjoy a simple meal of rice, lentils, and dates under the shade of an acacia tree. Afternoons are spent analyzing data, preparing reports, and sometimes meeting with local communities to discuss conservation efforts. In the evenings, I relax with a good book or join friends for tea in the city. The weekends are for exploring new parts of the desert or hiking through the rugged landscapes. Dubai is a city of contrasts, and I love my life here, balanced between the natural and the modern. Mika's tech-driven life in Tokyo. Konnichiwa. I'm Mika, a robotics engineer in Tokyo, Japan. My life revolves around innovation, precision, and the fast pace of this incredible city. I start my day at 7 a.m. with a quick breakfast of rice and miso soup. By 8:30 a.m., I'm at the lab, working on the latest developments in robotics. It's thrilling, knowing that our work could change the future. I'm surrounded by machines, sensors, and a team that's absolutely dedicated to pushing the boundaries of what technology can do. We're not just building robots, we're creating the future, one code line at a time. Around noon, I take a break to enjoy a bento box, usually something simple like fish, rice, and vegetables. The afternoons are a flurry of activity, testing prototypes, solving unexpected problems, and brainstorming new ideas with my team. In Tokyo, the tech world moves fast, and there's always something exciting happening. Evenings are my time to unwind. I might visit an izakaya, a small Japanese pub, with friends or stroll through the neon-lit streets of Shibuya. The weekends are for exploration, visiting temples, checking out the latest gadgets in Akihabara, or taking a day trip to Mount Fuji. Tokyo is my inspiration, a place where tradition and technology meet, and I'm grateful every day to call it home. Sophia's cozy life in Stockholm. Hey, I'm Sophia, and I live in the beautiful snowy city of Stockholm, Sweden. Life here is calm, cozy, and filled with the little joys of Scandinavian living. I work as an interior designer, and my days are all about creating warm, inviting spaces. My morning starts at 7 a.m., with a warm cup of coffee and a slice of fresh-baked rye bread. By 9 a.m., I'm at the design studio, meeting clients and working on projects. I love bringing the essence of hygge, coziness, into people's homes, creating spaces that feel like an escape from the cold outside. Lunch is usually something simple, like a bowl of hearty soup or a Swedish meatball sandwich. In the afternoons, I visit clients' homes, taking in the spaces and imagining how to transform them. Stockholm's winters can be dark and chilly, but I find warmth in my work and the little things like lighting candles or wrapping up in a soft wool blanket. Evenings? They're for winding down. I might meet friends for fika, a coffee break with pastries, or stay in with a good book. On weekends, I explore Stockholm's parks or the nearby archipelago, enjoying the beauty of nature. Life here is peaceful, gentle, and exactly what I need. Olivia's boutique life in Montreal. Salute! I'm Olivia, and I own a small clothing boutique in the heart of Montreal, Canada. My life is colorful, creative, and deeply connected to the style and spirit of this amazing city. I start my day at 8 a.m. with a latte and a fresh croissant from the bakery around the corner. By 9 a.m., I'm at the boutique, setting up displays, steaming clothes, and curating outfits for my clients. Fashion is my passion, and I love helping people find styles that make them feel confident. Lunchtime is usually a quick poutine or sandwich from a nearby deli. Montreal's food scene is fantastic, and I never run out of options. Afternoons are busy with customers, fittings, and sometimes a photo shoot for the boutique's social media. The city's vibe is infectious, artistic, a little bohemian, and full of life. Evenings are for winding down. I might grab a glass of wine with friends at a cozy cafe or attend an art exhibit. Weekends are my time to recharge, whether it's through exploring Montreal's art scene, taking a walk up Mount Royal, or simply enjoying the city's rich culture. Montreal is a blend of tradition and trend, and I love every bit of it. Yusef's thrilling life in Cairo. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Yusef, a scuba diving instructor in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. My life is an underwater adventure filled with coral reefs, colorful fish, and the beauty of the Red Sea. My day starts at 6 a.m. with a quick jog along the beach. By 8, I'm at the dive center, preparing equipment and meeting my students. Teaching people to dive and experience the underwater world for the first time? There's nothing quite like it. Their excitement, their awe, it's contagious. At noon, I grab a quick bite, usually falafel or koshari, a local favorite. Afternoons are spent diving, exploring reefs, and guiding tourists through the marine wonders of the Red Sea. The water is clear, and every dive brings something new. Evenings are relaxed. I might sit by the water with friends, enjoying tea and the sound of the waves. On my days off, I explore new dive spots or relax on the beach. Sharm el-Sheikh is a paradise, a place where I can share my passion with others, and I'm grateful every day for this life. Priya's culinary journey in New Delhi. Namaste. I'm Priya, a chef in New Delhi, India. My world revolves around flavors, spices, and the art of creating traditional Indian dishes with a modern twist. I start my day at 5 a.m. with a cup of chai and a visit to the local market. The colors, the smells, the energy, there's nothing like it. By 8 a.m., I'm in the kitchen, preparing for the day's service, chopping vegetables, grinding spices, and tasting everything to perfection. Lunchtime is a quick affair, usually a small bowl of dal and rice, or maybe a stuffed paratha. In the afternoons, I work on creating new dishes, experimenting with flavors, and planning the menu. My evenings are filled with the hustle and bustle of the dinner rush, each dish crafted with love and care. At the end of a long day, I unwind with family, sharing stories and laughter over a home-cooked meal. On weekends, I explore the city's street food scene, always looking for inspiration. New Delhi is my kitchen, my canvas, and my heart. Elias's remote life in the Australian outback. G'day, I'm Elias, a wildlife photographer living in the Australian outback. My life is an adventure in the wild, filled with stunning landscapes, unique animals, and endless open skies. I wake up at dawn around 5 a.m., ready to capture the beauty of the outback. The early morning light is perfect for photography, and I often spot kangaroos, emus, and maybe even a rare bird. My days are spent hiking, setting up shots, and waiting patiently for that perfect moment. Lunchtime is a quick meal of sandwiches and fruit, eaten on a rock overlooking the vast landscape. The afternoons are a mix of editing photos, documenting my observations, and sometimes guiding tours for people who want to experience the outback. Evenings are quiet and peaceful. I sit by the campfire under a sky filled with stars, listening to the sounds of the night. The outback is harsh, but it's beautiful, and every day here is a new adventure. Mira's spiritual life in Bali. Om Swastiastu. I'm Mira, a yoga instructor and wellness guide in Ubud, Bali. My life is centered around peace, mindfulness, and helping others find inner balance. I start my day at 5 a.m. with a sunrise meditation, listening to the sounds of nature waking up around me. By 7 a.m., I'm leading my first yoga class of the day, guiding my students through poses that bring harmony to body and mind. Lunchtime is a light, nourishing meal, usually a smoothie bowl with fresh tropical fruits. In the afternoons, I often hold wellness workshops, teaching people about holistic living, mindfulness, and the beauty of connecting with oneself. Evenings are serene. I might join a community gathering, practice a bit of art, or take a quiet walk through the rice paddies. Bali is a spiritual haven, a place of healing and love, and I am blessed to be part of it. Alejandro's artistic life in Barcelona. Hola, I'm Alejandro, a street artist in the lively city of Barcelona, Spain. My life is colorful, expressive, and filled with the sounds and sights of this vibrant city. I start my day at 9 a.m. with a café con leche and a stroll down La Rambla, taking in the street performers, tourists, and locals going about their day. By 10, I'm setting up my easel, paints, and canvases in my favorite plaza, ready to bring my art to life. Lunch is usually a quick bite of tapas, patatas bravas, olives, and maybe some jamon. The afternoons are my creative time. I lose myself in my work, inspired by the architecture, the culture, and the spirit of Barcelona. Evenings? I might meet friends at a tapas bar or join a local music performance. Barcelona is my muse, my canvas, and my playground. I'm grateful for every day I spend creating art in this beautiful city. Thank you for joining us on this journey through daily lives around the world. We hope you enjoyed these stories and felt the heartbeat of each culture, from the peaceful fields of Tuscany to the bustling streets of Tokyo. At Simple Spoken English, our goal is to make English learning exciting, practical, and full of life. Remember, every story is a chance to learn new words, phrases, and expressions that help you connect with people from all walks of life. Practice what you've learned today, try speaking about your own daily routines, and use these examples to add natural rhythm and emotion to your English. If you loved this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with friends who also want to improve their English. We have more stories, tips, and adventures coming up, so stay tuned. Until next time, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep making English a part of your life with the Simple Spoken English. See you soon.